Welcome, Algebra 1 students, to the homework help video, pages 82 and 103. Let's start off with page 102. The directions for 51 through 58 say to find the terms of the expression. Now, I'm going to do this two ways. I want you guys to tell me how many terms are there and then circle them, okay? So first of all, remember, positive and negative signs divide an algebraic expression up into terms. So, here's a term. Then I see a negative sign. Here's a term. So I've circled my terms. There are a total of 2. That's simple, students. It's very, very simple, but it is unbelievably important in Algebra 1, later, and in Algebra 2, to be able to tell how many terms are in an algebraic expression. It's very, very important. Okay, 52. Here's a term, negative x. Here's a term, negative 7. So we have a total of 2 terms. Okay? From now on, we look at these as negatives, not minuses, and we look at these as positives, not negatives. Okay, number 53, there's a term. Now some students would circle this, and then circle this, and that's wrong. There's no positive or negative between the 3 and the x, okay? Positives and negatives divide an expression up into terms. So there's a term, negative 3x. There's a term, positive x. So we have a total of 2 terms. Okay, number 54. There's a term. There's a term, positive 9, negative 28x. So this expression here has 2 terms. Okay, negative 9 is a term. Positive 4b is a term. So we have 2 terms in negative, or in number 55. Number 56, there's a term, positive a. Then I see a positive sign. So there's a term, positive 3b. Then I see a negative sign. So there's a term, negative 5. So 56 has 3 terms. 57, positive x is 1 term. Then I see a negative sign. So negative y is a term. And then negative 7 is a term. So we have a total of 3 terms. Moving on to number 38, negative 3x is a term. Then I see a positive sign. Positive 5 is a term. Then I see a negative sign. Negative 8a is a term. So I have a total of 3 terms. Okay? Alright, moving on now to page 103. The directions say for numbers 25 through 47, use the distributive property to rewrite the expression, or in other words, to simplify. So here we go. Take your 3, multiply it through. Positive times a positive is positive. 3 times x is 3x. Positive times a positive is positive. And 3 times 4 is 12. If you don't want to put this here, you don't have to. It's up to you. And there's your answer. 3x, positive 12. 2 terms. Number 27, take your 5 and multiply it through. Positive times a positive is positive. 5 times y is 5y. Positive times a negative is a negative. 5 times 2 is 10. Number 29, negative. Now, there's no number here, students, so we're just taking a negative sign and we're multiplying it through. Some students like to put a 1 here, it kind of helps them, and that's fine if you want to, okay? I'm going to take a negative sign and I'm going to multiply it through. A negative times a positive is a negative. A negative times a negative is a positive. And that's it. There's your answer. Number 29, a negative times a positive is negative. 4 times t is 4t, because 4t means 4 times t. A negative times a negative is a positive, and 4 times 8 is 32. Alright, number 33. Okay, students, here we go. A positive times a positive is a positive. X times x is xx, which is the same thing as x squared. A positive times a positive is a positive, and x times 1 is 1x. If you don't want to put that 1 in front of the x, you don't have to. That's the exact same answer. Okay? So x squared plus x is the same thing as x squared plus 1x. Either answer is correct. One answer is not more accurate than the other. Okay, number 35. Watch your signs now. You're multiplying a negative through. A negative times a positive is a negative. R times R is RR, which is the same thing as R squared. A negative times a negative is a positive, and R times 9 is 9R. Alright, moving on to number 37. Let's take your 2 and multiply it through. A positive times a positive is positive. 2 times 3x would be 6x, because 2 times 3x is 2 times 3 times x, which is 6x. A positive times a negative is a negative, and 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, number 39. Now, this can be a little confusing, students. Personally, I would move the negative 3 to the left. I think that makes it easier to see, but that's up to you, okay? A negative times a sorry for yawning. A negative times a positive is a negative. 3 times 2x is 6x, because 3 times 2x is 3 times 2 times x. Also a negative times a negative is a positive, and 3 times 4 is 12. Alright, number 41. Let's take your 4x. Let's multiply it through. A positive times a positive is a positive. 4x times x is 4 times x times x, which is the same thing as 4x squared. A positive times a positive is a positive. 4x times 8 is 32x, because it's 4 times x times 8, which is 32x. Alright, moving on to number 43. Again, students, for me, I like to move the 5y to the left. But if you don't want to, you don't have to, okay? A positive times a positive is a positive. 5y times 3y is the same thing as 5 times y times 3 times y, which is 15y squared. A positive times a negative is a negative. 5y times 2 is 10y. Number 45. A negative times a negative is a positive. 9 times t is 9t. A negative times a negative is a positive, and 9 times 3 is 27. Alright. Number 47. We have a positive times a positive is a positive. 5 times 1 half x is 5 halves x, because 5 times 1 half x is 5 times 1 half times x. And of course 5 times 1 half, put the 5 over 1. 5 times 1 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2. So 5 halves x. Now we're going to take a positive times a negative is a negative. 5 times 2 thirds would be 5 over 1 times 2 thirds, which would be 10 thirds. Okay? And that's it for number 47. Now, for numbers 49 through 59, the directions say to simplify by combining like terms. So here we go. Now students, think carefully. My 15 is positive, but my 4 here has 2 signs. So, remember what we've learned. When you have 2 signs like this, if they're different, the expression, the term becomes negative. So my signs are different, so I end up with a negative 4x. Okay? Now, this is an x term, this is an x term, so they are like terms. Remember, if this x would have been x squared, then they would not be like terms, okay? In order for terms to be like, they have to have identical letters in both terms, okay? So I have an x and an x, so they're like terms. So bring your x down, a positive 15 and a negative 4. You have $15, you pay off $4 debt, and you're still left with positive 11. Positive 11x. It's very important, students, that you know how to do this, okay, for future math. I have 51. I have a b term and a b term. They are like terms. So write your b, a negative 8 and a negative 9. Now if you were multiplying, that would be a positive, but you're not. You're combining, so you owe 8, you owe 9, so now you owe 17. Negative 17b. Alright, number 53. Now, this is called a constant term. There's no letters with it. This is a constant term. No letters with it. Let's combine those like terms. You owe 3, you have 7, pay off your debt, and you're left with a positive 4. Then bring down your positive y. Now we're finished. A lot of students like to take this and then put 4 plus y is 4y. And that's wrong. First of all, 4y means 4 times y, correct? Excuse me. And this isn't times, this is plus. And then also it's wrong because they're unlike terms. This is a constant term. This is a y term. They are not like terms, so you cannot combine them. Now, can you multiply unlike terms? Well, let's see. Let's go way back here. I took a constant term times a t term. So yes, you can multiply unlike terms, but you cannot combine unlike terms, okay? Alright, number 55. Okay, students, we have a t term and a t term, so write your t. You have positive 1.3, you owe 2.1, so you're going to pay off part of your debt and still have a negative 2.1 minus 1.3 is 0.8, so you would have negative 0.8 t. Alright, negative 0.8 t. Alright, 57, we have an a term and an a term, so write your a once. You have positive 107 to the good, but you owe 208. So pay off as much as you can, and you're left over with negative 101. So your answer is negative 101a. Alright, moving on to number 59. Okay, we have an x cubed term, an x cubed term, and a constant term. So these two terms here are like terms. So let's write our x cubed. Okay, we have a positive 9, a negative 4. So you pay off your $4 debt, you're still left with a positive 5. You can put a positive in here if you want to. You don't have to. And then bring down your last term. Now that's as far as you can go, students, because they are unlike terms. One is an x cubed term, and one is a constant term. Now, if they were multiplying like this, could you continue on? Yes, because you can multiply unlike terms. So a positive times a negative is negative. 5x cubed times 2 would be 10x cubed. Yes. If they were multiplying, you could continue on, but they're not multiplying. Okay? We have two terms. They are unlike, so there's nothing else we can do. Okay, for numbers 61 through 69, we're going to simplify. So here we go. Now, think about it, students. First of all, before you start trying to combine like terms, like you did in these past numbers here, does that make sense? You'd want to do your multiplication first? Sure it does. And I see some. And I see some right here, students. I have a negative 2 being multiplied times this parentheses right here. Now for me, I'm going to put the negative 2 out like this. Now I hope all of you can see that the negative 2 would not be multiplied times this y over here, because this y is not inside the parentheses. This negative 2 only gets distributed through the parentheses, okay? So here we go. Negative times the positive is negative. 2 times 3y is 2 times 3 times y, which is 6y. A negative times a positive is negative. 2 times 1 is 2. And then simply bring down your y. Now, I see a y term here and a y term here. Let's combine those. Bring down your y, a negative 6 and a positive 1. Even though you can't see it, when you owe 6, pay off part of your debt, and you still have negative 5. Then bring down your negative 2. You know you're finished because there are no more like terms. Number 63. Okay, I do see some multiplication. Okay, this 2 is right next to the parentheses, so it's going to be distributed through. Now for me, I like to move that to the front, so I'm going to put the 2 here, and here we go. A positive times a positive is a positive. 2 times 7 is 14. A positive times a negative is a negative, and 2 times s is 2s. And then bring down your 12s. Now, here's an s term. Here's an s term. Let's combine those. Write your s once. Positive 12, negative 2. That's a positive 10. And then bring down your positive 14. Okay? Alright, number 65. Okay? I have a negative 3x that's being multiplied here. Let's do our multiplication first. A negative times a positive is negative. 3x times x is 3 times x times x, which would be 3x squared. A negative times a positive is a negative. 3x times 1 is 3x. Bring down your 7x. Now, don't get confused here. We do not have 3 like terms. This is an x squared term. This is an x term. This is an x term. Those are your like terms, okay? If this would have been 3x cubed, then we would have no like terms. We're finished. Circle your answer and you're done, okay? But we have an x term here and an x term here. So bring down your x, positive 7, negative 3, that's a positive 4. Bring down your negative 3x squared. And there's your answer. And by the way, in all of these answers we've been writing, you are more than welcome to switch your terms around. Okay? This negative term can come first. This positive term second. This here could be a positive 14. And then a positive 10s. Okay? All of that's fine. You could put your negative 2 first and your negative 5y first. That's totally fine, okay? All right, number 67. I've got some multiplication here. Let's take care of that first. Positive times a positive is a positive. 3t times t is 3t squared. A positive times a negative is a negative. 3t times 5 is 3 times t times 5, 15t. And then bring down your 6t squared. Now, here's a t squared term. Here's a t squared term. Combine your like terms. So, bring down your t squared. Positive 3, positive 6. That's a positive 9. Then bring down your negative 15t. And that's it. Alright, last problem, number 69. We have some multiplication here. A negative w times a positive would be a negative. W times 2w is w times 2 times w, or 2 times w, which would be 2w squared. A negative times a negative is a positive. W times 3 is 3w. Now bring down your 4. W squared. And do we have any like terms? Yes. We have a w squared term there and a w squared term there. So bring down your w squared. Positive 4, negative 2 is a positive 2. And then bring down your 3w. And that's it. Guys, this material is not that difficult, but it's really important for future math, okay? I hope this video has been a help to you. If you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to call or email.